It's muted.
Is
There
that
you go.
it?
Yep, that's it.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
I was just muted. I normally don't unmute. I don't normally mute this, so.
You're a witch, not a tech wizard.
Thank you. I'm a witch wizard, not a tech wizard. Okay. Thanks, Greg, for hitting the unpause button. Appreciate you. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Probably are very confused about what I was saying because you couldn't hear me. So I was just talking about how I saw a bunch of people saying that they were this like week has just been like so draining. It's been so incredibly draining. We've been going through like a lot of different transitions, which I totally get, astrologically speaking, but like holy crap, it's intense. I'm just like anybody, like my dreams are all over the place. I know Greg's been having a lot of weird dreams. Like he had a dream about like Nicolas Cage last night, literally. It feels wild. It feels really wild out there. How's everybody else doing? Let's see. You can hear now. Yay. It literally was just, you're going to laugh at me. I forgot to hit that red button. Sorry, everybody. Anytime I get really close to a microphone too, my like ASMR instincts come out and I'm like, what can I do? Wait, make weird sounds. Yes, we all have strengths. Thank you, Tatiana. I appreciate that you have my back. Alicia, you like my hat? Thank you. It is I found it at TJ Maxx like a million years ago. I think I'm feeling like this is the summer of hats. Gordy is going to be a little sneezy. He's a little bit sneezy tonight. You might hear cats running around. Oliver just realized that there's a basement, and like 2 minutes before class, I had to run downstairs and grab something really quickly. And then as I was kind of like carrying everything up the stairs, Oliver snuck down the stairs. So then I had to chase him down the stairs and catch him. And he got to the bottom of the stairs and he was just like, whoa, like, what? There's a whole new place down here. So he's literally right now, he's laying at the top of the stairs to the basement on his side, just banging the door open, like trying to open the door because he's obsessed. How's everybody doing? Is everybody doing good? Rachel says this week had me super on edge, honestly draining. Absolutely, totally. There's like a vibe in the air, definitely kind of feeling a little heavy. So hopefully tonight we're going to be talking about some nice things. We're going to be discussing the joys of spring almost being here, like just being here. We're going to be talking about lovely things. So I'm hoping that it will chase away the Sunday scaries if you have them. It will. I also appreciate that. I think I'm actually competing with the Oscars right now, which is pretty great. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Yeah, you're gonna hear cats. I promise you, they're running around the background. Strange dreams, absolutely. Greg had weird dreams. I've been having really weird dreams. The kind of dreams where when you wake up in the morning, you feel like you've gotten no sleep at all because it has just been, my brain has been doing stuff all night long. It's been processing things. It's been doing things. Greg apparently is dreaming about Nicolas Cage a lot, which is, I mean, who doesn't? It's Nicolas Cage. But yeah, wild dreams, feeling really kind of drained, maybe a little bit touchy, a little bit sensitive, maybe a little emo. This week's been awful. I know everybody's kind of feeling it. Wild dreams, weird dreams. Yeah, it's been crazy. There has been two pretty big astrological transitions, which I am not in any way, shape, or form an astrologer. I have like I think I have like an okay, decent understanding of it. But there's been two big ones, so I know that we're all kind of like moving into new spaces. So how's everybody doing? Same with the neck. Intense dreams, screwing up your sleep, exhausted for days. Absolutely. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes just to arrive because I know there's probably some late people. Do you hear him? That's Oliver. He's trying to get downstairs. He's obsessed. It's so sad. That's the saddest mew I've ever heard. Oh, he's done. Okay. It's so sad. Oh my God. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the spring equinox, and we're going to be discussing a ritual that I came up with for this spring equinox. I wanted to do something a little bit different this year. I know you could hear his little sad meow. I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. And so I came up with a ritual for everybody that's pretty simple. Your ingredients list is going to be pretty simple. And so you'll likely be able to do it. You still got a couple more days until the spring equinox arrives, but I tried to keep it pretty simple. And more importantly, I tried to make it pretty customizable because the point of this ritual is a really kind of personal journey. So, in saying that, you very likely would want it to be, are you coming up? Why are you sad? Because you can't go downstairs? Here he comes. So I customized it and made it so that you can add, subtract, do whatever you want. But it's a nice, simple little ritual that's kind of perfect for the spring equinox that brings a lot of the themes and the focuses and intentions sort of to the forefront of our mind, gives us a little bit of time. This one is a sort of relaxing ritual, and we're not going to be performing the ritual tonight, but I'll be walking you through the steps for getting your ingredients ready and talking you through what you kind of the baseline of what you can do for this ritual. But I thought it would be kind of fun because I don't know about you, this winter and last winter were really heavy. This winter was a different kind of heavy. Like I feel like I know a lot of people who really struggled with mental health stuff this winter. It was very heavy, really, really heavy. A lot of like transitions happening, people really going through changes in their lives and just a big shift happened. I think personally, I've noticed anyway, within the past, I don't know, 6 months or so. And I'm feeling, I think a lot of us kind of spent the winter in a bit of like a dark night of the soul, maybe doing a lot of shadow work, processing, going through our stuff. And like, I feel as if we're moving into this spring, and my overwhelming kind of feeling about it is this sense of kind of renewal, but also really like a joyful feeling, a very sweet kind of tender, joyful feeling, which is pretty common, obviously, for spring. But coming out of a super heavy winter. Did anybody else feel that way? I feel like I talked to so many people who went through the same kind of thing. They were just feeling really like they were going through a lot. Let's see. Rachel says, I agree. It was really challenging. Nancy says, yes. This week was terrible. Oh no, I've been sick. Feel better. Oh no, 2 people got sick. Oh man, so many people. Yeah, it's been so stressful. It's been heavy. And so what I really wanted to focus on was a little bit of self-love, because I'm sure that a lot of us need that right now. It is spring is kind of slowly coming in. It's been weird because it's sort of like been a bit teasing here in Ohio. I don't know how it's been where you are, but I am so ready for it. And like, this is coming from someone I am a winter fall lady. Like I love the cold weather. I love being like inside with like blankets and all that kind of stuff. But this winter really kind of put me through my paces, and I'm coming into the spring really feeling a sense of joyfulness and change and transformation, and I'm excited about it. So I'm hoping all of us who experience this heavy stressful winter are going to come out of it the other side recognizing that we kind of were put through our paces, but maybe we grew a little bit, maybe our character was developed a little bit more, maybe there were things that we had to go through to learn something about ourselves or our lives or whatever it is. But yeah, heavy. Just heard, oh no, that you're getting a nor'easter tomorrow. No, Eastern tomorrow, a nor'easter. That would be hilarious. Yeah, winter can go. We're done. It's March. It's like mid-March. It's so weird because we've got tons of like dogwood and all sorts of like shrubbery in the backyard that kind of leads into the woods. And it's all, well, you got sneeze number 1. It's all trying to like be alive, and it's just every 2 days we get like frosty and cold and everything. I can feel the trees outside going like, stop. Learned a ton. Oh, left your husband, who's pretty emotionally abusive. Oh, sending you so much love. That's heavy. A lot of lessons of independence this winter. That's a really good way of putting it. And that's it. It's like it's been I think maybe it's been a time for learning a lot about ourselves in good ways, maybe harsh ways, maybe bad ways, maybe neutral ways, but it's been a really transformational winter in a lot of ways. All right, let's get started. So if this is your first Magic of the Month class, are you come? Oh God, here he comes. Oh, here he comes. There will be cats. As I said, they are always very curious about what's going on over here. You can come over and say hi maybe later. All that you need to know is that he's sleeping directly behind the computer right now. So we're going to be discussing all things spring equinox. If this is your first Magic of the Month class, welcome. We do class every single month. We do a live class. All the classes are archived. So if there are classes that you're not going to be able to be and attend in live, don't worry, they're all archived. Every class has been archived. So if you're curious about all of the previous years of classes, you can absolutely go back through them. You can watch them as many times as you want. Rachel says lots of inner child work here. Here comes Oliver. Are you coming? Yep, there he is. He's gonna smell the microphone. My problem is I think I'm a bad cat mom with him because I'm having a hard time saying no because he's so cute. I can't look at this face. How can you say no to this face? He's so sweet. Oh my God. Okay, you gotta go down here though, bud. Okay. He's such a mush man. He's going to jump right back up here. Okay, so first class, lots of first class people. I have notes. I keep my notes for every class. It helps me stay on task. I will ramble all over the place. This is a pretty open kind of conversation. So if you have questions about anything, I always do my best to try to keep an eye on the chat while we go. So feel free to ask questions and I'll do my best to answer them. Oh my gosh, there's so many people. That's so fun. Okay, so notes. I should let you know ahead of the class, at the top of class, there isn't going to be a meditation or anything for this class. I have a hair that's sticking off my hat. Can you see it? There it is. It's driving me insane. Okay. So we're not going to be doing any kind of visualization or meditation for this class. We're going to be doing a little bit of crafting. So usually for meditation classes, we do quite a bit of those. I'll kind of suggest ahead of time that you dress in comfy clothes, just because who wants to meditate in jeans, aside from my friend Ty, who's a big fan of weekend jeans and afternoon jeans. He's insane. But yes, I will usually suggest comfortable clothing. I will not suggest it if you don't have to. But the one thing I will say is grab a notepad or something to write with. You can even do it on your phone. Because I'm going to have a couple of things specifically at the end of class. We're going to be going through a ritual that you can do on the, I keep almost wanting to say autumn equinox, on the spring equinox. And you might want to write it down. Oliver's going to meow because he wants to go down into the basement land because he needs to know what's down there and he has no fear whatsoever. Okay, so let's start, shall we? So today's class will be focused on the spring equinox. How important it is and can be for us if we acknowledge it and honor each of the turns in the Great Wheel. And we're going to talk a little bit about that sort of right here at the top. I see people saying hard no pants. Do it, no pants. It's always the best way to go. First class, yay for crafting. Yeah, we're going to be making some delicious things for our self-care ritual. Okay, yes, that was a cat. He'll be meowing for sure. Okay, so why do we want to celebrate the spring equinox? And it's one of those things where I usually talk to people about introducing some kind of cycle, one of the natural cycles, and picking which one appeals to you the most. And usually when people are first beginning an interest in magic, it's often the moon phases and kind of learning about the moon phases and how they affect us spiritually and energetically, and then sort of maybe beginning to introduce a bit of a practice where we're working with those different moon phases in terms of maybe what we're doing. So if it's the full moon, maybe we're doing rituals that are focused more on abundance and joy. And maybe when we're in the dark moon phase, we're kind of letting go of things, or even we're beginning to think of new beginnings for things. So that's usually the first place that people start when it comes to those natural cycles, and focusing on those natural cycles for us as magical people, as witches, is a really beautiful way to kind of bring magic into every day of your life. And you can get as granular with it as you want. You know, many of us who are magic practitioners understand that even like certain days of the week, we can focus certain kinds of magic on, right down to different times of during the day. So you can get as granular or non-granular as you want. It's totally up to you. But we're going to talk a little bit about the spring equinox and why maybe starting to moving into this summer or the spring and summer months, maybe introducing some of those cyclical celebrations and rituals can help kind of bring more magic into your day-to-day life and really give you really specific moments for celebrating yourself, for celebrating what's happening in the natural world, and how it often will reflect those feelings back at us. So we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Before I do that, let me pop over here to Patreon and make sure that there are no comments over there because I like checking on everybody over there. Okay. Let's see. Cool. Okay. Check over here. All right. So here we go. So why celebrate the spring equinox? So as we've talked about in many, many classes before this, the witches and magical people tend to live their lives by cycles, focusing on cycles, things like the moon, mainly those natural cycles. And each month, many witches all around the world celebrate the full moon, for instance. I think is a really great example. It's a memorable date. We can all kind of go, yep, okay, I see it up there. And it is one of those times of the month where I think most of us can either we feel it ourselves or we notice it happening in the world around us. That there's some kind of an effect going on there. I just want to make sure that I'm still live for some reason. Can someone let me know if I'm still live? I think I am. Just weird. The comments are doing like a weird sputtering thing. I'll keep going in the meantime. Okay, so each moon, as we know, witches can focus on things like the full moon as being okay. Good. All right. I was like, my screen was like frozen for half a second, and I was like, oh no. Okay, you guys were just really riveted and paying attention. Thanks. Okay, so each month witches celebrate the full moon. Again, the full moon is like this perfect marker. It is, we can see it in the sky. Often we can feel it ourselves or we can feel it in the people around us. All you have to do is go out into the general public and you're like, it's definitely the full moon because people are acting like they're howling at the moon. So witches will celebrate something called the Wheel of the Year or the Great Wheel. This is we can follow the seasons. We can follow the wheel throughout the seasons. And there's a cyclical sense of traveling through a wheel that is kind of continuous and beautiful and has impacted every culture. Most cultures, agriculture is the focus for many of the different rituals that are celebrated during the different spots and the spokes on the Wheel of the Year. So we can see that there are cyclical experiences, magically speaking, that happen in the natural world that if we sync ourselves up with can give us a greater appreciation for life, can give us a deeper spiritual appreciation for life and an understanding of that cycle that exists within each and every one of us. And throughout the course of our lives, we know many of us experience those cycles constantly. It can be you've worked at a job for 10 years and now you're not working there anymore. Or maybe, as we were talking about earlier, someone's marriage is ending and it's a cycle. It's a cyclical experience. We're going through these different processes. We become different people throughout the process. So introducing those different types of natural cycles into our daily lives, and we've talked about this lots of times before, can be really beneficial as magical people and can really, if we're people who want to have a deeper connection with nature, with the elements, with the spirit of nature itself, then those can be really great ways to do that. Okay, so these include, as we talked about, the Wheel of the Year. They include the equinoxes, winter and summer solstices, many spots along the spokes. So where was I? As well as the days falling halfway between these, which are often known as like cross quarter days. Many different people will refer to them as that. So magically speaking, these days are important for us to acknowledge because their atmosphere is charged like electricity for magic, manifestation, or reflection. So it's this idea that as we've talked about it, the idea of these currents of energy that kind of they've existed long before we did, and they will exist long after we will. But we can tap into those different currents again, using the moon as a great example. We have a current of energy. We have an understanding of and a symbolic understanding of what's going on when the moon moves through its cycles. So as magical people, we can use that sort of as a kind of, a way to tap into that type of pre-existing energy and channel it into the magic that we're practicing. So again, if I'm looking to do magic that's focused on abundance and I'm picking the full moon as my date, and you can be as specific as you want. You can literally go right down to the moment when the moon is absolutely 100% full, because we exist in that full moon state for usually about 3 days. And the percentage of whether, the moon is as full as it is changes. So you, again, can get as granular and specific as you want. If you want to do your ritual at the exact moment that the moon is 100% full, and that is impactful for you and that feels powerful for you, then that's exactly what you should be doing. So tapping into those energies that already are existing are really nice ways to kind of give our magic a little extra vibe, and also, again, connecting us to those larger cycles. It kind of brings us in so that we don't feel like there's a term that's often used in magic, and it's called working with something. So people will say, like, for instance, I love working with bay leaves. And the idea, it's something that I think about a lot because it's a language that people use quite often. I work with amethyst stones, or I work with these types of essential oils. And I've thought about it a lot lately. And I think what's really fascinating about it is this idea that when we're working with something, it means that we're working in harmony with something. So the idea, again, is to harmonize ourselves and our own cycles, which are pretty naturally occurring, as you can tell when you go outside on a full moon and people are acting like it's a full moon. Those natural harmonies tend to happen on their own, but when we're aware of them, we can kind of embed ourselves a little bit more and dig in really deep and plug into those different types of energies and feel that more harmonious sense of self as we kind of move throughout our day. Hopefully that makes sense. So we can tap into these naturally occurring energies for our magic, for our spiritual growth, and for our personal growth. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be about magic. I have so many friends that are magical people, ironically enough, who don't really practice magic. They don't really do ritual work, but they're deeply, deeply in tune with those cycles. And to them, that connection to those cycles is satisfying enough. For some of us, magic is definitely a part of our practice. And so there's kind of a nice sliding scale there, where it's like, as people who don't even necessarily practice spell work or ritual work, but are just magical people just in general, connected to those larger cycles, it's cool because we have this option. You know what I mean? Like even if you're someone who's not that interested in spell work, you can still kind of get yourself synced with those natural harmonies. And it, a lot of ways, can bring a deeper sense of understanding of the self, how we experience nature, how it impacts us, how it is often a reflection of what we're going through on an unconscious level. Many of us who live in, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be cold areas, but many of us who experience winter will often unconsciously feel a sense of turning inward, of introspection, of wanting to take time in solitude and alone. And that often happens quite naturally for most people. So it's kind of an awareness to a degree. It's an intuitive awareness. Maybe, one of the things that people will often say is that when they start to practice magic and when they really, they become more focused on their spiritual practice from a witchcraft perspective, they often feel as if they're coming home. That's a really, really familiar thing that I hear often. And I felt it immediately. I knew the second that I had sort of found my path, even as a teenager, that there was an awareness of coming home, that what I was learning was almost a sense of relearning, as opposed to, putting new information into myself. Felt like, oh, I know this intuitively. And I'm sure you feel exactly the same way. Intuitively, this is something you already know. It's just a matter of remembering it. And really a lot of that has to do with just unconsciously how we connect with nature just in general. Nick says, I have all these tools, but have used them in my practice. I feel like I'm lost and I need to reconnect. And that is, again, so the other thing that's important to remember, and Nikki, thank you for saying that and sharing that, because it's something that is very common in many different spiritual practices. Again, even our spiritual practices are cycles. Even they go through intense moments of learning and practice, and then times where we intuitively feel, or for whatever reason within our lives, we step away from it, or we take it a bit of a back seat to it, and we allow it to kind of figure out what it is on its own, and then we can come back to it. So I always tell people that, because you'll often talk to people in magical spaces, or you'll talk to, teachers or whatever it is. And there's almost a sense that people don't want to admit that our spiritual practices also go through cycles. I have, throughout the course of my life, gone through many, many cycles where magic was not something that I had time to focus on or energy to focus on, and I was focusing on other things. And so that's even a beautiful thing, because there's a sense of celebration within that the cycle also exists there. So it's nothing to be kind of embarrassed about or not want to admit to. It's part of the process. Totally feel like I've come home. I am way more aware of these cycles since doing rituals. Absolutely. I think that tapping into that is really, really a real thing. Yeah, can relate. It can be so hard. And that's the thing. So I always tell people, don't beat yourself up about it. It is part of the growth process. It's part of, it's part of the process. It's totally natural. If as all things go through cycles, we go through those cycles also. Tatiana says, I know you've said this before, Dana, but what app do you recommend for moon tracking? So I have I think it's literally just called Moon Phase. It's like a freebie app that I use, but I'm sure that if there are people in the chat who have better ones, feel free to drop some recommendations, because I just use the most basic one. So if anybody else out there has better ones, let's hear it. Share your secrets. Okay. So we tap into these naturally occurring energies for our magic, spiritual growth, and personal growth. There's something very powerful, meaningful, and important about acknowledging and honoring each of the turns in this wheel of the year. There's something really beautiful about that. There's an awareness and there's a sense of our energy syncing up. There's a sense of being part of this greater cycle, which is what we are. And the more we connect with that, the more we become part of it, the more we are working with those energies, as opposed to, trying to connect with them or understand them. I'm always trying to, with everything I do, my hope is always that there's a sense of empowerment, that it's not the big secret is it's a slowly introducing energy that we get used to, we become in sync with, we become familiar with. There's a deep reverence and like appreciation and love for this larger kind of wheel of the year energy. So where was I? So as the wheel turns, we celebrate and reflect upon our growth, changes, and phases. So it gives us the opportunity to reflect on our own lives. When we, for instance, since we're going to be talking about the spring equinox, maybe this spring equinox will be an opportunity for you to recognize how much you've grown over the past 6 months, to celebrate that. How beautiful is that? To give yourself a marker, a moment of celebration and acknowledgement for the work that you've done, or maybe what you've gone through. Maybe it's a sort of sad or melancholy celebration, but it's still it's celebrating and recognizing our growth as people, which is an incredibly powerful thing. It's incredibly empowering, and it shows us the growth process. It shows us the spiritual growth process, because it's always constantly in flux. It's always constantly ebbing and flowing and changing. And so the opportunity to recognize that and to celebrate that, even if it's just celebrating our own personal growth, is a deeply impactful and important thing for a lot of people. Anna says, yeah, I've had multiple surgeries this past few months, so ready for spring and healing. Feel better, Anna. Definitely going through a growth spurt right now. I am 100% with you. There's an excitement. I felt it since Imolk. And we talked about this a little bit at Imolk, but we're kind of cruising into spring. Like, we're literally a few days away from the spring equinox. We have gone through like a very difficult time period. And I think that from Imolk to the spring equinox or Ostara, it's a bit of a dark time. It's a bit of an isolating time, because we've passed through holiday season and we're kind of sitting in the dead cold everything, the sun is not out. It's constantly dark out. It's usually pretty cold. So that stint, that period of time can be really, really heavy, really specifically, heavy for a lot of people. And myself included. So the process that we go through now to this point, it's like, now we get to party. Now we get to celebrate. Now it's going to be warm weather and abundance and growth and all that kind of good stuff. So, and we're going to talk about that. So as I said, as the wheel turns, we can celebrate and reflect on our own growth, the changes that we've gone through, good, bad, wherever you're at with them, and the phases that we've gone through. So, not just that, but the phases that we go through as people. So, and that links and connects us deeply to the planet, to the people around us, to the phases that we all will go through, in our own unique and individual ways, and and the shifts that occur within us. So it is truly like a celebration of the self. It's a celebration of who you've become, what you've gone through. And at the same time, it's also a celebration of this kind of larger cycle that we are deeply intrinsically connected to. And it is so important as magical people to have the connection that, again, it's sort of, what we've been talking about. It's this idea of working with something, being in harmony with something, recognizing that we are a part of that larger cycle, not just kind of observers of it. And the more we connect with that, and the more we feel that connection kind of ebbing and flowing and within us, the deeper spiritual connection we often will find ourselves in. Okay, so today's class, as I've rambled now, today's class will focus on celebrating this spring equinox. So we've talked about the spring equinox before. We've talked about, the autumn equinox as well. An equinox is simply a time where the day and night are of equal length. So it's a perfect balance. And balance obviously becomes one of the major focuses of this time of year, because we have that energy to tap into. We're about to experience the equinox, the balance of light and dark, the perfect precipice that sits upon, and we can tap into that energy for our own balance. Maybe we're experiencing it starting to happen. I'm feeling it a little bit, and we'll feel that shift kind of towards balance a little bit more. So an equinox is simply a time where night and day are of equal length because of the tilt of the Earth's axis and how it orbits around the sun and lands perfectly in a perfect position to shine exactly above the equator. We are right there. We're at this perfect balancing point. And first of all, how amazing is that? That energy feels incredible. It's a really beautiful thing. And also, how can we bring some more of that balance into our own lives? And it's a good time of year to focus a little bit in on that, mainly because very soon things are going to be popping off. Things are going to be, flowers are going to be exploding if they aren't already a little bit, but also our social lives are going to become much more active. We probably will feel the desire, even if we're introverts like myself, you might feel a desire to be a little bit more social. Maybe it's even just social with nature and spend more time outside and spend more time in the sun, but we're probably very likely going to feel the desire for that. It's the funniest. There's like that joke where the first time you feel, a spring breeze on your face, you immediately want to be like on your back deck with a White Claw, like barbecuing. It's like immediately we're just like, yes, like we feel it within our bodies that like, ooh, the relaxation of the abundant months kind of start to take over. And there's a little bit less of a focus on the harder things and a little bit more of a focus, thankfully, because we've really gone through it this winter, a little bit more of a focus on joyful abundance, growth, socializing, connecting. And that's so good for us. Let's see. Graham says, I just quit what I thought was my dream job, trying to focus on opportunity rather than sadness, but it's hard. I totally and completely understand. And sending you so much love and strength. That's so hard. But Graham is ready to celebrate. I'm with you. I will celebrate with you, Graham. It's a difficult thing. And again, the other thing to remember too is we're still sort of in, I'm being, I'm obviously very excited about spring, but we still have a little bit more. It's March, you know what I mean? We're still going to be wearing jackets, though likely we will want to be running around outside in the sunshine with our bare feet. That celebration we can start to have though. And the reason we can start to have that celebration is whereas with Imbolc, when we're embracing hope, we're embracing growth, we're embracing what has not happened yet. It's all about belief. Remember, we talked about this in the last class. It's about the belief that better things are coming. Now, once we start to move towards the spring equinox, the promise has been good because we can see it happening in nature. We're seeing growth happening. We know that our gardens are about to change. We know that the natural world is about to change. So we can allow that same change to happen within us. But we, again, still have a couple weeks of kind of cold back and forth weather, a little bit all over the place. Okay, so where was I? Let's see. So the spring equinox takes place often between March 19th and sometimes the 22nd. It just depends. You can you check every single year. You'll find it often within those. That often you'll always find it within there in the northern hemisphere. It happens when the direct rays of the sun heat the equator, making day and night equal length, as we talked about. Equinox, the naturally occurring balance, becomes one of the biggest themes of the spring equinox. Balance, bringing more balance in. Maybe and you know, the thing is we can often also have too much isolation. We can have too much introspection. It can make us anxious. It can make us, you know, it can bring up a lot of anxiety. So there also needs to be a balance there. And maybe that's what we're being asked to do during the spring equinox, is to recognize, okay, well, you know, maybe if I haven't figured it out yet and I don't know where I need more balance, what can I look around my life and see? And if I can't even notice it there, what can you do in order to recognize where balance is? Well, we can look at the very least the commonalities that we often share throughout these colder months, and that is we've been very isolated. We've likely been in our own heads a lot because, again, we are not outside socializing with people. We are likely feeling a little cooped up, a little bit ready to kind of, you know, enjoy ourselves, let our hair down, so to speak, and to get outside. There's a desire to kind of experience the sun and to be with our feet kind of on the bare soil, or on the soil or on the grass. So there is, at the very least, we can kind of reflect upon that and go, yeah, you know what, I probably feeling a little bit cooped up, probably feeling a little bit isolated, and maybe a little bit anxious from spending so much time indoors with with my own thoughts and my own growth. And so where's the balance there? Where do we can find the balance? If in the autumn equinox, we're beginning to turn towards introspection. We're beginning to kind of shut down those more social aspects of ourselves, or those growth spurts of those outward showing growth spurts that we might experience during the spring equinox. We're kind of doing the polar opposite. We're going through that cycle again. And as the season goes and as the months go by, we'll find our way right back at the autumn equinox again, and we'll shift back into introspection. But right now, we're right about there. And so it's time to start shifting into those social spaces. Social is in like the more, you know, being a little less introverted, being a little bit less in your own head, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So this naturally occurring balance comes, I read that part already. It marks the first day of spring. Often many Wiccans or pagans or people who, are either Wiccans or pagans, they will often refer to it as Ostara, one of the stops in the wheel of the year. We can talk a little bit about Ostara and what that is. So the word Ostara is said to come from the Anglo-Saxon Germanic goddess Eostar. And again, we're talking about spring, all the spring symbology. So we're talking about fertility. We're talking about, all the colors of spring are associated with Ostara. All of the symbols of spring are associated with Ostara. So rabbits, eggs. I think last year, actually, if anyone remembers, was last year when I did the egg blowing thing and we realized that it was really hard to blow the yolk out of an egg. I think we decorated eggs last year for a class, and I poked holes in the top and bottom of my egg and had to like blow it out, and realized that it was, yes, okay, thank you. I recognized how difficult it is to blow the yolk out of an egg. It's so hard, and you have to like use a straw because obviously we don't want to get like salmonella and stuff. It was more funny than anything else. So yeah, all of those things are symbols that are very recognizable. If you're more curious about going more in depth, find last year's class because I think we talked a lot about that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really it, and it also there's no cool way to do that. Everybody looks like a total dork when you're trying to blow yolk out of an egg with a straw. It's very confusing looking. People are like, what? I think a lot of people took screen caps of it and then put it on Twitter, and people were like, what is she doing? And I was like, I'm doing crafts. I'm doing witchcraft. Okay, so let's see. The spring equinox. Where was I? I keep losing my spot. You know why? It's because my hat is actually cutting off the light, and I keep having to like tilt my thing so I can read it properly. Okay, so that's the word Astara. We talked about that. It's a time of balance, equilibrium. Balance is so important. It's a time to focus on renewal and on birth and rebirth. So again, renewal being bringing life back to ourselves, animating ourselves, making ourselves a little bit more actionable as opposed to kind of the quiet, slow cycle that we have likely sort of fallen into throughout the colder months. Renewal and rebirth obviously are humongous in terms of the focus. So this celebration marks the first day of spring with the light triumphing over darkness. Darkness, meaning the literal darkness outside. So if we're fortunate to experience the new spring equinox, which all of us are, it is literally a few days away. It means that we have made it through another long winter and now can look ahead to the blessings, beauty, and the warmer months. So I literally have it written here, and you guys are going to laugh. I wrote, can you see it? It's time to party. It's time to celebrate. It's time to breathe a sigh of relief. Think about it this way. If we had ancestors that were living in the colder season during this time of year, they were likely eating very close to the bottom of their whatever it is that they had to eat for the long winter months. This is a very bad example, but it makes me laugh to think when you haven't gone grocery shopping in a long time and you have to eat like whatever's there. Imagine our poor ancestors just being like, well, this is what we have, these moldy old potatoes or whatever it was. So there is a sense here that we finally get to have a little bit of a breath, a little sigh of relief. We know that abundance is coming. Things are going to flourish. We're going to be experiencing a little bit more abundance. And as the weeks go by, it will just be better and better and better. Yes. Heck yeah, we survived party. Exactly. We did it. We survived this long, and this winter was long. It was heavy. Okay. So what is Ostara? We'll talk a little bit about that. So Ostara is Ostara also, I'm going to use them kind of back and forth just for the sake of, I know some of you might celebrate Ostara. Some of you might just call it the spring equinox, whatever it is. I'm going to use those two terms kind of back and forth, however they come out. So what is the spring equinox? What is Ostara? Ostara is often a solar holiday, so it's sun focused. There are tons of sun symbology, obviously. Spring, think, sunshine, think happy bunnies, think, new life, think tulips and daffodils and early blooming flowers, all of which are really poisonous for cats, so be careful, and dogs, I think. Think of those like early spring flowers. And so this is the time of year to really focus on that. So like I have some on one of my altars. Don't worry, the cats never get up there. They're weirdly, for Oliver's very like cat. He likes to like jump up on stuff and run around. But there's certain places I almost feel like he just knows not to mess with. Like he's not interested in them whatsoever, which is for him crazy. Okay, so as I said, it's a time for renewal, rebirth, celebrating spring. We did it. So Ostara signals the end of the passive dark half of the year and the beginning of the active light half of the year. So we're right there. We're moving into the more light sun fueled. The sun is growing in dominance in the sky. It's getting warmer. The days are longer. I think tonight daylight saving. I think it is. I think I was talking to Greg about this before, but I think I always forget every single year. We're spring forward, I think, fall back, right? Yes. Yeah, because we get more. Right? No. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't listen to me. Okay, so the spark of Imbolc develops and grows, turning into spring. I told you guys last month, literally, the spark of Imbolc. Remember we were talking about hope. We were talking about that precious, precious new beginning, that feeling of just nothing but hope, and how important. Yes, spring forward. Thank you. Spring forward. That's good to know because I literally would have done it the other way around. So Imbolc, again, we talked about it in the last class because we were a bit focused on Imbolc, but it's this idea again that hope, that tiny, precious, precious bit of hope that we have, that seed, it's beginning to grow. And at this point, we're really over the next couple of weeks, we're going to really start seeing that in the world. We're going to start seeing it in nature. So that promise of Imbolc was delivered. We are getting spring. Spring is just about here. So as I said, the spark of Imbolc develops, grows, turning into spring. This is why it is so important to set our intentions at Imbolc, as we kind of talked about last month. If you didn't and you didn't have time, that's totally okay. I have a little part of tonight's ritual that is dedicated to giving yourself the opportunity to set some intentions so you can bake that into your ritual and you don't have to feel left out if you didn't have time to really kind of set your intentions for what you want this summer to be about. So is it about spiritual growth for you? Is it about going out and maybe going and doing some weird, adventuring with friends? Maybe you're going to like spooky places, and that's part of this. So it's part of that cyclical process. You're going out into the field and investigating something, or maybe you're going on a trip somewhere that is deeply important to you. All that good stuff. Okay, let's see. Where am I? Oh yeah, so I will have a section, don't worry, if you didn't have the chance to set your intentions. So the colors of Ostara and the symbols of this time of year, they're the ones that we know and we love because they're very common. We see them often in Easter motifs. They're pastel colors, springtime colors, bunnies, chicks, baby animals, eggs. Often, again, it being a solar holiday, we'll see sun symbology, the symbology of sun growing, folklore, and myth around this kind of time of year. And again, it's very agriculturally focused. So the sun is rising, the sun is growing in strength. Many of our ancestors who are telling these stories to each other, who are sharing these myths and legends and this information with one another, the focus will often be on the growth of the sun and the fertility and sneeze number 2 and growing as much as we possibly can. Oh no, I think we're getting another one. Hold on, I have to approve. No, I don't. Okay, where was I? Okay, so, oh my gosh, Gordy, he's very stuffy today. He's having a day. You okay, buddy? Yeah. Yeah, you sound pretty gross. He sounds a little bit stuffy. Saw some flowers popping up out of the ground. We have in our backyard, we have the most adorable neighbors on the planet. And from our back porch, you can see they're beautiful. They have like an incredible garden, and he grows veggies all summer long, all spring and summer, and delivers them to our front porch. So all summer we just have fresh tomatoes, fresh zucchini, fresh all sorts of stuff. So that one sounded really gross. So he delivers all sorts of things, and there's a really cute fence. We have a little hobbit fence that looks like it should be in the Shire that separates our backyards. And right along the fence, I didn't notice it until last year, but the whole back section is all daffodils. So the people who lived here before us, I think I remember her mentioning that there were flowers that are annual flowers that'll pop up. And we just have all of these beautiful, I literally can show them to you because I've got some right here. I don't want to set my arm on fire. Look, there's so many of them. This is literally there are probably, I don't know, 200 of them that just pop up out of the ground. They're so pretty. They smell, oh my God, they smell exactly like spring. This just changed my whole night. I wish that you guys could have smell-o-vision. Here's some of this energy though. Isn't it so pretty? And they're just white and yellow and they're everywhere. all over the backyard, and then there's some in the front. So it's like a surprise every single year. This is our second summer here, and I was literally like in the spring, I was like, oh my god, it's so pretty. Okay, I totally forget where I was. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm all over the place. So that was why it was important for us to set intentions at Equinox. Ostara starts, Ostara marks new beginnings in so many different ways, whether it is what's happening in the natural world. Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, goes into, we go into Aries season on March 20th. Any Aries people out there, my fellow fire people, my mom is an Aries, so I know how to love Aries people. I can say that. I know that Aries people are not always easy to love, but I know how to love an Aries person. There's an Aries right there. I don't think I have any Aries in my chart at all, which is weird. But like there's a bunch of Aries. Yay. My mom you're going to laugh. This is how fiery my family is. My mother is an Aries. I'm a Leo and my sister is a Sagittarius. And we literally are in that order. Like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. There's a lot of Aries in here. How are you, spicy Aries? Are you getting ready for your flaming Aries season? I love Aries. Okay, so yeah, being the first sign of the zodiac, we're also starting at the beginning of that cycle, which is another cycle in and of itself. And how beautiful is that? So the sun and day begin to rule the sky. My sun is Aries. Yes, my birthday is on the next full moon. Yes, Aries are very feisty. You're feisty and stubborn, which is an interesting combination. But you're very lovable, and you're often. I find Aries often to be one of the biggest like cheerleaders of the zodiac. They will usually tell you like it is, but they will also tell you that yes, you can do it, and they'll say it long after everyone else stops telling you to keep doing it. Okay. Yeah, so hold on. I would have been an Aries if I hadn't been 3 weeks overdue. I was 3 weeks overdue, and I would have been a Cancer instead of a Leo. So I stuck it in. I stuck in there for an extra 3 weeks because I knew I had to be a Leo and not a Cancer because I have Scorpio. Scorpio is my rising sign. I have multiple water signs. I think the universe just knew that I'd be crying 24 hours a day if I was a Cancer with all of that other water placements because it's way too much. Cancer, Sun, Aries, Moon. Ooh, that's like it's Adam, my friend, obviously Adam Berry. He is a Pisces, and he gave it away in chat, so I can say it. He's a Pisces, Aries, Moon, and I think he's a Pisces rising also. That Aries, it's like Aries, I find often is like that one food that like takes over the taste of the rest of the food. If you got a little Aries in there, it gets in there. I've unintentionally only dated Leos. My fiance is a Leo. I am a Cancer. Leo and Cancer is a pretty good combination, I think. On the cusp of Pisces and Aries. Yeah, their Pisces and Aries is a nice. I think it's like oddly like completely polar opposite, but I find that Pisces and Aries people are sweet, but they don't take crap. But they're sweet, like their hearts are so sweet. But if you mess with them, they don't take any crap from you. Gordon is definitely going to spend the whole time in here, so he's decided everyone else also gets to hear his nose being gross. Sorry, everybody. Cancer Sun, Leo Moon, Aquarius Rising. That's a nice vibe too. Okay. Where was I? Let me take a sip of this. How's everybody doing? So Spicy says, how do we find out what moon and sun we are? Does anyone have any specific apps that they use? So the one thing you'll need to know is you have to know exactly where you were born and when you were born. So like I always tell people, if you can, ask your parents, or if you've got your birth certificate, it should all be on there. But those are the two things that you need. And then there's like a billion places where you can look up your chart and get a good idea. I know a lot of people like CoStar. I'm a fan of CoStar. Some of my astrological friends are not a fan because I don't really know why, but I'm not sure if there's like some sort of drama around co-star. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely saying co-star. So Canadian. Astro Cafe, that's a good one. It's, I think, totally free. Yeah. So make sure you know where you were born. So exactly where you were born and exactly the moment that you were born, because those two things are very important, obviously, when it comes to getting the bigger picture. Okay. Because I think that, I don't know. I think I'm a Leo. I have a lot of Leo tendencies, but I find that I'm a so I'm a Taurus moon, and I am very Taurusy. Like I don't like being uncomfortable. I like being I like the biggest enabler of self-care. I will always tell people like self-care before anything else. And then I'm a Scorpio rising, and I feel like I have a lot of that in there too, but I feel like it's kind of balanced. You might often find that you relate more to one of the other two of your big three than you do with your sun sign. And I didn't really relate to my Leo placement until I kind of became an adult. I don't think I was, as a kid and as kind of a teen, I didn't really feel like much of a Leo, but I do now. Okay, so the sun and day are beginning to rule the sky, which is why we have these beautiful solar images that are often very much so a part of Ostara or a part of the spring equinox. It is a time of trusting your planted seeds. So as we were talking about trust earlier in the previous class with Imolk, trust is still part of this process. It's still something that comes into play. Tatiana says, why do some people not like letting or don't like letting people know their big three? I think it's that it gives people a lot of power. It gives them a lot of insight into who you are as a person. It's sort of like, I know a lot of people like to keep it secret because they're like, I don't need anyone knowing that much about me, because you'll know, you get a pretty good insight into what people are like when you know their big three. And I'm totally fine sharing mine with everyone. Okay, so it's time to invest more hope and faith into your intentions. So as we talked about, again, with Imolk being this time of hope, this kind of very private experience, we're still sort of there, and we're starting to see that come into fruition. We're starting to see a little bit more of the telltale signs of spring, but we still have to hold out a little bit more hope because it will likely be colder over the next couple of weeks. But we're going to start to really see the sun taking over. We're going to start to see nature really starting to explode. And you'll likely be seeing it probably from this point on. Every day you're going to be like, whoa, I have to pull weeds, or I've got flowers over here. Or maybe you're taking a hike or spending some time out in nature. You'll start noticing bulbs on trees, and things are going to start happening. So we just need to hold out a little bit more hope. And that's only because we have a little bit more cold weather left, but it is much better than we were at when we were in Imol, because we still had a few weeks of that dark, the sun going down early, the moon kind of dominating, the lunar senses sort of dominating. And now we're going to do that shift, and our solar senses will sort of start to take over, and we'll be a little bit more engaged, a little bit more actionable, a little bit more out in the world, as opposed to the solar sense, or the lunar sense rather, being those psychic senses, those quiet introverted senses, the ones that we grow and we spend time with during the darker half of the year. So don't worry, we still have time to set intentions. So don't forget that. If you did not set intentions last month, I wanted to make sure, because I know everyone gets busy and I totally get it. So we're only just now beginning to see the fruits of our hard work, which was all of the hope, all of the dreams that we gave ourselves permission to believe. We're starting to see that those things are actually coming into fruition. They're actually going to start manifesting around us. Jean says you already have so much yard work to do. Totally relate to that. And I haven't done any of it. So don't worry. We still have time to set intentions, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So what are the things we should focus on during the spring equinox? What do we, if we don't know, what do we turn our attention towards? So we celebrate the return of light and the warmth of springtime season, and tend to the seeds that we planted in the fall and in the winter. So during Imolk and a little before Imolk, when we were talking about hope, it's time to start taking action. So if, a month and a half ago, we were like, I'm daydreaming, and I am letting myself daydream about starting a book. That is great. But now we have to take a little action because we're moving into we're moving out of our lunar senses and more into our solar senses. So we're beginning to be a little bit more actionable. So it's time to start taking action. So even if we don't like what we're writing, sitting down for an hour every day, or if that's too much, even an hour every week, and dedicating a little bit of time to the action of making your dream come true. If it's, opening a store, or if it is auditioning for a play, or if it is starting a band, whatever it is, whatever your dream is, it's time to start putting that into play a little bit. And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to go, nuts, but we definitely want to start to introduce some of those things. We want to start being a little bit more actionable. So, where the heck was I? We celebrate the return of light and the warmth. It's time to take a little bit more action. It's a very good time to begin to take action towards our intentions and goals. So make sure that you're starting to think about those things. Begin to let your confidence grow. And that's part of what this time of year is all about. It's a sense of taking a minute and recognizing what we have spent most of the winter doing. So maybe for some of us, it has been learning divination. Maybe you've been learning tarot, or you've been learning just about magic and witchcraft just in general. And we've spent all of this time, retaining this information, absorbing this information, being with, whether you're reading books or you're listening to books or podcasts or whatever, you're retaining, you're starting to bring this information into you. Now it's time to give ourselves a little bit of a confidence boost and to recognize that that information doesn't have to exist within us. So for instance, I'll give you an example. If you've spent the summer or the winter, learning tarot, it's time to start offering some free tarot readings, maybe just for your friends and family, or maybe just for your family or your partner or your kids, whatever you're most comfortable with. But it's time to start building confidence about the things that we are trying to bring into our lives. So maybe you've spent all winter long reading about magic. Maybe now is the time to perform your first ritual. Maybe now is the time to teach your first class. Maybe now is the time to do whatever it is that you're doing. But recognize that confidence is part of that. And the confidence comes from knowing that we have spent the past however many months studying, or learning, or researching something, or preparing for something, or whatever it is that you have kind of focused a little bit on this winter. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. So yes, confidence is the name of the game right now. And for people who confidence doesn't come naturally to, and that's me, I'm a deeply insecure person, which isn't necessarily not the truth. I am someone who has to work at confidence. I'm pretty shy. I don't normally, it's not my instinct to kind of put myself out there. So I have to make a really big effort to do that. And I have to do that through kind of growing my confidence about things. And so it's something that we have to focus on. It's almost as if it's a muscle that we can, spend time growing. And we do that again through recognizing that we've dedicated time and energy to the thing that we're trying to manifest. So begin to let our confidence grow, nurture and foster your confidence. That can even be through spell work. Maybe, there's a ritual that you can do that can help you feel more in tune with your confidence, more in touch with your confidence, to give your confidence permission to kind of take over a little bit. So nurture and foster it, because soon we might be called to become more actionable towards our hopes and our dreams. So you never know. Maybe it will be the perfect time for us to start a podcast this summer. Maybe it will be the perfect time to, start a garden. Maybe you've never gardened before and this is your first year doing it. Or maybe you're changing it up and you're switching it. Or maybe you're moving to a different place. Or maybe you are transitioning into a different kind of life, or you're moving into a different job. Maybe there's something that maybe there is something in these moments where we can introduce more of the confidence and kind of, begin to move into those stages a little bit more actionable, as opposed to, again, those lunar qualities that tend to take over a lot for obvious reasons during the winter. So the themes of the spring equinox, as we talked about, are balance, renewal, and rebirth. And I'll give you some example of those in a second. So any ritual work pertaining to these themes is a great idea. So any ritual work that is focused right now on rebirth, renewal, new beginnings, balance, all that good stuff, that is a great focus specifically for the spring equinox if you were thinking about doing a ritual. So I have a few examples. So with rebirth, maybe it is changing your appearance. If you want to experience that rebirth, maybe it's like getting a drastic haircut or doing something that you've never, maybe it's getting a tattoo in a place you never would have thought you'd gotten one, or you would have gotten one, or maybe it's dyeing your hair a different color. There's something about embracing the change in our outward appearance that often can really change us deeply within, especially if we already feel as if we've changed within. Having the outside kind of manifest or match that inner change that we might have experienced is a great example. So that could be something that people might do for rebirth. Celebrate the changes that you've gone through this winter, even if they're hard. Maybe celebrate isn't necessarily the word, but there's a sense of recognition of those changes, of acknowledging them, even just for ourselves, acknowledging if we've gone through something hard, if we've overcome something difficult. Maybe you've overcome some sort of a habit that wasn't good for you. This is our moment to celebrate that. This is our moment to recognize that. Maybe not celebrate, but to recognize that we've overcome something, and to give ourselves an opportunity to reflect on that, because our lives are so busy and we are often going and constantly distracted that we forget that we have achieved great things. You know what I mean? Like I sometimes forget that we've achieved the things that, the things that we've done, where, with our podcast, we had like a huge number that we reached last week. And I had to like stop myself and actually have like a moment to go, I need to like reflect on this and have a moment to kind of celebrate this, because if I don't, I'm just going to kind of keep going. And so it often tends to happen for a lot of us. Again, we're very busy. We have a lot of things going on, but giving ourselves these moments specifically around solar festivals or holidays, they can give us this like beautiful celebratory, joyful experience to recognize that we've achieved something, or it can give us the permission to recognize how much stronger we've become because of the things that we've overcome. So there's a beautiful balance there. There's a great and lovely way to celebrate that, or to reflect upon it, either or, whatever you're comfortable with. And what a beautiful way to celebrate our lives. You know what I mean? Like, what a beautiful way to recognize our individual experience, our growth as people individually. And yet we can also celebrate the larger picture, which is that is also happening again in the natural world. We're seeing renewal, we're seeing rebirth happening. And if anything, if what I'm saying is something that maybe you don't relate to, because you've kind of felt like you didn't really experience any of those things this winter, which is totally understandable, because all of our lives are unique and individual. We can still take time to recognize that it's happening in the natural world. And that gives us the opportunity to tap into that and connect with what that feels like for us. So as I said, rebirth, changing your appearance, get a haircut, do something drastic. I'm literally always Greg talks me off the ledge all the time. I'm always on the verge of just chopping all my hair off and doing something completely different. It probably will happen. But yeah, changing your outward appearance is often a nice way to celebrate that internal change, celebrating or reflecting upon what we've experienced this winter, and celebrating a return to our summer activities. So if you're somebody who gardens all summer long, or if you hike, if you're someone who is a runner and you finally get to start running outside again instead of on a treadmill, or whatever it is that you love doing in the summer. Maybe it's like going to your favorite bar and hanging out on a patio, and like knowing, like, we have a really great bar in Cincinnati that's called I can't remember the name of it actually. I think it's called Nico's. It's a dog bar. So it's like you just get to hang out. People have dogs. You're outside. They're always barbecuing. It's just like such a good vibe. And so that feeling is something that can also be celebrated. A joyful, if you're someone who maybe you do an annual trip to Disney in the summer, and that's really important to you and your family, that's something that you can celebrate during this time of year because it's a cool thing and it's something that you get to do with the people that you love. So even celebrating that is a cool thing. So the next one, as we talked about rebirth being a big focus, the next one I would talk about is renewal. And I think renewal is incredibly important for a lot of us, especially the ones, those of us who have had like a pretty heavy winter, like this winter, as we talked about, was pretty heavy. And I think a lot of us are feeling weird vibes right now. So renewal being, self-care, always taking the time to, give yourself 5 minutes just a day for journaling or sitting with your favorite cup of tea and having a reflective moment or meditating or whatever it is that feels like self-care for you. Maybe it's playing video games. Maybe it's, whatever that looks like. It's totally up to you. But self-care obviously being a really big one. Turning your intentions towards abundance is another nice way for to think about renewal, allowing ourselves to kind of, if we're people who tend to stick specifically during the winter months, towards those thoughts of kind of sacrifice and, even just energetically turning your focus a little bit more towards abundance, recognizing again, the gardens will be full. We're going to have fresh fruit and vegetables. The natural world is going to flourish and be abundant. And it can also, just the vibe alone can exist within us. It doesn't necessarily mean that we might, experience that, but the vibe of that is enough to kind of turn, the winter blues around in a lot of ways. Tatiana is sat with a slice of cheesecake after class is over. Oh my God, that sounds so incredible. I get to celebrate turning 30 in June. Dirty 30. 30 is such a great, you know what? The 20s, I know are pretty heavy for a lot of people where it's very transitional. You're going through so much. You're having so many life experiences. Once you get to your 30s, it's pretty great. I'm 42 now and I'm like, this is the best. Like I am about this. I am all about this. I have like gray hair now and I'm deep in my mother stage. So I'm loving getting older. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Turning 40, it was pretty great. 40s, it's a pretty fantastic time. I'm not going to lie. Turning 29 and you're nervous about turning 30. Oh no. It's there's a lot of people going through it this year. Actually, there's a friend of mine, my friend Raven just turned 39. So this is her last year in her 30s. 29. I know a lot of people have that time period it's kind of nerve wracking, but it's fun and it's wonderful. And your 30s they're an incredible time period. It's a really powerful time for a lot of people. Turned 30 last May and I'm loving it. I'm ready for growth and change in my 30s. Yes. Yeah. I met Greg in my 20s. We dated throughout my 20s. I got to travel around the country a lot in my 20s, but it's also tumultuous and you go through a lot emotionally and it's a very powerful time period, but I'm a more of a chill person. So the time I basically aged into my disposition. I've always been this age, even when I was 18. Just turned 40 so far, enjoying it. Yeah, the only thing that sucks is definitely like some of the creaks and the little like, the old knees are making popping sounds and all that kind of good stuff. Turning 42 this year with so much change happening. I agree. It is better in your 40s. I love it. I'm so happy. I'm excited to be old. Exactly. It's a good time to be old. Okay, so renewal, as we talked about, self-care. So dedicating some time to self-care is an act of renewal, giving yourself the opportunity to be renewed, to give back to yourself, because we are dealing with so much shit all the time, whether it is every aspect of our lives or the experience that we have on social media or whatever. We are bombarded constantly. So reminding yourself that renewal is a good thing and should be part of your spiritual hygiene, and your energetic hygiene is very important. So give back. However that is, it's going to look different for everyone. For me, it is often a Beyond Burger. I'm a big fan of that. I am a ritual bath person, all that kind of good stuff, but it's giving yourself renewal. So turning your intentions towards abundance, as we talked about, and giving back to yourself or your community after a long winter. That can be a beautiful way to renew. One of the things that Greg and I love making sure that the local animal shelters that we love, we dump off a bunch of food. I am a thrifty person, and I love like, sending, we often will send like bags of clothes and stuff, but just the sense of like giving back and making space and recognizing that, and also giving back to your community and the spaces and the people around you can be a really powerful way to experience renewal in whatever way or shape or form that looks like. Sometimes it's literally as simple as if you go for walks, picking up trash in your neighborhood, or whatever it is. It will look very different for each and every one of us. So the next one, in our kind of, the things to focus on in spring would be balance. So beginning to shift our focus from introspection towards those more extroverted activities. So maybe that is, like one of the things that this is not what I would choose to do, but it's the first thing that popped into my head. When Greg and I worked for Road Trippers, one of the things that Road Trippers did was they had, like, Cincinnati has like a big kickball community, which is so strange. And our CEO, Jim, was like, he's British, so I'll always do his British accent horribly. He was like, Road Trippers needs a kickball team. So all of the nerd people on the content team were like asked to join this kickball team. And I was like, we're going to get murdered. Like, it's not happening. But maybe that's what it is for you. Maybe you're someone who has a local kickball team, or maybe you roller derby, or maybe you are just ready to spend the entire summer on the beach, or maybe you are someone who's going on a trip, whatever it is. But it's that focus, turning our attention towards the focus, towards those more extroverted activities. So maybe it's spending a little bit more. It can be literally as simple as like, maybe it's just spending more time on a blanket in your backyard reading, or on a blanket in your local park reading. Whatever it is, there's that shift towards those more extroverted activities. So yes, and also Greg and I did not join the kickball team, but we went and supported every single week our friends Tatiana and Anna, who were the fellow kickball people, but also on the content team. So we had to support our friends, obviously, but we did that from the sidelines because I'm not getting kicked with a kickball. No way. I also am not, as you can tell, a very athletic person. So I would have probably made us lose. I'll grab a sip of this. How's everybody doing? Donated a huge bag of clothing for spring cleaning. It feels so good. I love doing that. And then I just turn right back around and go right back into the thrift store. I do it every single time. And I just fill up the spaces that were there with things that I inevitably will donate, a month and a half later or a year later. Just donated. Oh, that's so cool. A bunch of towels, blankets to an animal shelter. The other place that's really great for towels and blankets is any kind of women's shelter. It can be really, really helpful. My friend Megan she is constantly like telling me the basic things that are really good to make sure that people who need them, because obviously a lot of us, I am the worst because I have towels in the house that have like hair color on them because I color my own hair. And so yeah, I always like every couple months get hair dye on a towel and I have to retire it. And I'm like, I feel bad. Okay, where am I? Spend more time outside to shift your natural cycles. Invite practices into your daily routine that can help bring more balance into your life, like meditation, journaling, and yoga. So those are, again, just a few little ideas for balance, but maybe none of these relate to you and you have your own way of doing things. Animal Aid gift shop. What is that? I make special soap specifically that's so great. I love it. Okay, so spring equinox ritual. So now we're going to talk about the ritual. It is relatively simple. I try to keep it simple. You can make this as ornate as you would like. I wanted to keep it simple because I know that many of us are very busy, and I kept the supplies very simple also. So last month we talked about spiritual hygiene of the home. So now let's talk about spiritual hygiene of the self. So this ritual is meant to be an intuitive one. So remember, there isn't a lot of kind of pre-planning for this. What comes up is going to come up in the moment and it'll make sense in a second. So this ritual is meant to be an intuitive one. Not so much prep needs to be done beforehand. aside from gathering your supplies and making your ritual salts. So what we're going to be making today is some ritual salts, and that they'll be used for a very specific thing. So where did I put them? That's the next question. Oh, they're right here. Okay, good. That's what I had to run downstairs for. Okay. So what you'll need, you're going to need whole bay leaves. So I like just the size. I usually keep an entire bay leaves like just in a jar because I use them so often for spell work that it's kind of nice just having them there. But you're going to need the whole thing. If you don't have access to this, you can also use a piece of paper. But bay leaves are pretty easy to come by, and they smell incredible. They smell so good when they're burning, and you can also cook with them. So grab yourself some bay leaves. You're going to want to get, I'd say at least 5, but it's totally up to you, however many you want to use. So don't forget your bay leaves. We're going to be using them whole. Okay, where was I? I literally keep doing the same thing. So you want bay leaves. What else we're going to want is we're going to want some salts. I have Epsom salts in here because this is going to be going in the bath. I have my favorite herb or flower or root. You can have as many as you want. Again, this is where the customizable thing comes in. I'm using one specific one, and you already know what it is. It is lavender because it's my favorite smell on the planet. It smells really good. And yes, this is a tiny, like I said, Joanne's went so hard. It holds your herbs. Can you believe this? This is the most incredible thing I've ever. It's a mushroom. I'm really excited about that. Okay. Oh God, I'm literally getting things all over the place. And then you're going to want your favorite essential oil, whatever that is. I am someone who would suggest you stay in the more uplifting spaces. So citrusy smells, floral smells, maybe smells that are really, really associated with the spring equinox. That's really good too. Okay. So as I said, you're going to need those things, and you're going to need something to write with. So grab those uplifting essential oils. These choices should be very personal to you. This is your ritual, not anyone else's. So take some time to think about things beforehand. So think about your favorite essential oils. Think about your favorite herbs or flowers. Think about what kind of salts you want to use, but it's totally up to you. You've got to kind of be a little bit more actionable with this one because I want it to be as personalized for you as possible. So the other thing you will also need is some sort of a little cotton bag or something that can help catch the herbs from going into your pipes. Because as we know, I am a reformed apple core toilet flusher. And I've realized as an adult who is a homeowner now that I need to be more responsible when it comes to the pipes in our home. And I have been, I hope that you're all proud of me because I have been very focused on making sure that I do not get weird things in any pipes in our home. Also including, but not limited to, lavender, which will clog the crap out of your bath pipes and make a big mess if you don't put it in a bag. So a little cotton bag is a really good idea to mix it in there with your salt, to have the whole mixture in there. It will save your pipes. So make sure you have a little bag that you can use. If you have old tea bags, that can work really great too. If you've got a tea strainer, like you're someone who drinks a lot of loose tea, you can use that. Whatever you've got, but I would suggest you do it just because I've had people, including myself, who have not done that in the past and had a bad time, which is what has happened to me many times. Okay. Yeah. It's so, I literally, the problem I think is I usually have a ritual bath like once a week. And so I'm like hyper aware of it now because I have them so often. But yeah, Spirit Coach Katie says, shoot, I never thought of that. I just did a ritual bath a few months ago and lavender roses down the pipes. I've done it so many times. There's no judgment coming from me because I completely understand. But yeah, it'll save your pipes. And if you're someone who has them sort of semi-regularly, it's a good idea. I have learned this the hard way. So again, the amount that you use is totally up to you. I usually like to do equal parts of the herbs. So if you're going to use lavender, chamomile, let's say lavender, chamomile combination, just do equal parts. If you want to do a pinch, you can. I'm not very good at moderation, so I'm like more. So I usually have lots of flowers, you want all the smells and all that kind of good stuff. So do those in however you would like to, but try to keep them equal parts. And then just remember with essential oils that specifically, if you're using essential oils they can be really powerful. They do have the ability to burn skin. So just be, limiting. Less is more when it comes to essential oils. So 1 or 2 drops should be pretty good for, at least 1 bath. That's kind of what I stick to. And I am someone who I'm an aromatherapist, but I've also like burned the shit out of myself. Who hasn't put too much essential oil in your bath water and then you start feeling it like 10 minutes later when the back of your legs you're like, that's a burning sensation. What is that? That I have definitely done. So just be aware of that because, certain essential oils can be pretty gnarly when it comes to that kind of stuff. So you want to mix equal parts of that. So the ritual bath itself should be relaxing. That's the most important thing. It should be very relaxing. It should be a very chill kind of, again, we're talking about renewal. So you want it to be as relaxing as possible. I'm not going to ask you to do, too much when it comes to the ritual bath. It's really just going to be, even if it's just 5 minutes. And I have this in here also for people who don't have bathtub or don't like taking baths. This is also something you can do in the shower. All you have to do is just sprinkle the salts or have the salts hanging on your shower head. But it's just really a matter of giving yourself 5 minutes or so of kind of reflection, but also to recognize the action of what you're doing, which is cleansing your body, cleansing yourself with intention, removing kind of unwanted energies, maybe whatever it is we've been carrying around with us. So the ritual bath itself is an action that we're going to take first. So before anything else, we're going to do this ritual bath. So I'm going to mix my salts with you. Let me grab my bowl. Bowl's over there. Okay. So, hey, Greg.
Yo.
Can you microwave that thing for me?
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to have a helper tonight. I was going to run and do this, but I thought he could do it for me. Okay. So grab your bowl. You're going to want to, and again, this is very basic. You're going to want to add your salts. So those are in there. We got those in. We next will add our essential oil. So I'm going to go with 1 drop just because this is peppermint. So it's pretty intense. So we'll do 1 drop. Oh, 2. Apparently it's 2. And you're going to mix it up a little bit. If you want to do this in a mortar and a pestle, you can. If you have like a better kind of bowl, you can absolutely do that. But again, the intention is we're going to want to be including all things that kind of make us feel good. So whatever smells feel good for you, that help relax you, help make you feel as if you're in a more of a relaxed state, that's good. So we've got those. Next, we're going to add our lavender, which is going in. Okay. Give you a look at what this looks like. So it's kind of hard to see. And then the last ingredient, and this is totally up to you. If you don't have this, you don't have to. It's just something that I like adding to any kind of ritual bath is coconut oil. And so giving it a little, if you're someone who has like a double boiler, if you're doing like a big, thank you, sir. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello to everyone.
Hello to everyone.
Wow, I can't believe you guys aren't watching the Oscars.
I know. I literally said I'm competing with the Oscars right now.
Data just won an Oscar and he cried and it was very sweet. It made me cry. It was
really?
very nice.
Okay.
So anyway, that's all you need to
He
know
won?
about that.
Oh, that's
He
so
won an Oscar
good.
for Best Supporting Actor.
Asker.
Best Supporting Actor.
Okay. Everyone says hi, Greg.
Hi.
Here's our little bit of, and I've got like a tablespoon, if that, of coconut oil. That's going to go in there. So you could see, get it nice and moist. If you are doing a big batch, I would suggest using a double boiler because you never want to put direct heat onto waxes or coconut oils because they burn pretty easy. Any kind of oil is usually pretty good to use a double boiler, or you can be like me and just have a little tablespoon that you microwave, or you don't even have to do that. You can get in there and mush it around. So it's starting to create kind of, it's going to look a little damp, and that's what you want. And I'm going to put it back on. Once it's ready, I'm going to mix it around a little bit more. I'm using my finger to do that. If you have like a ritual spoon, you can do that. I kind of like using my finger at this point because I'm putting my intentions into it. And again, the intention is really to just create a calming space where we feel relaxed, we feel great. And so let me get a little bit on this bowl so you can see what it looks like, because it's going to feel kind of weird. It's going to feel damp, and that's the coconut oil, and that's just going to make it for like a more enjoyable experience. But it's going to look kind of, it's not going to look kind of, it's going to look like this. Let me get some of this off my finger. It's going to kind of be a little chunky looking, a little damp. Is that kind of hard to see? Oh God, I got it on his computer. There we go. Kind of chunky, a little bit damp. It smells incredible. So now we have our ritual salts prepared. And so the purpose of this bath, again, is to create an environment where we're focusing on not only cleansing ourselves, kind of sitting and connecting with the element of water, but giving ourselves the opportunity to kind of prepare for a little bit of a ritual, but it's meant to be relaxing. This ritual is very relaxing. So there's not a whole lot in terms of like really, really focusing and directing energy. We're just sort of letting ourselves fall into a more relaxed state. So again, it's going to look like this. It's going to kind of be chunky. It's going to smell really good. Okay. So the ritual bath itself, where was I? The ritual bath itself should be relaxing. So we don't want our phone. We don't want distractions. We don't want a book. This is actually, that's why I'm saying like you can limit it to about 5 minutes if you're someone who you're going to just get immediately distracted and want to go and do something else. So limit it to a minimum of at least 5 minutes. So it doesn't have to be more than 5 minutes, but we want to spend at least that much time reflecting on the spring. So this upcoming spring, the things that we're excited about and the ways in which we've grown. This is a self-care ritual. So this ritual is all about self-care. It's all about renewal, feeling better, giving back to ourselves after a long winter. So ritual, it's a time for invoking a renewal within ourselves. So giving ourselves the opportunity to not only experience renewal then and there, but to invite more of it into our lives from that point on. So we've taken some time, now to focus on renewal. Give yourself 5-10 minutes, however long you want. Again, if you're a shower person, give yourself the same amount of time. Just relax, enjoy yourself. It's meant to be enjoyable. So relax, play your favorite music, light your favorite candles, make a thing of it, make it a ritual. Don't just make it, like a regular shower or a regular bath, even a regular bubble bath. Make it a ritual. Bring your favorite, and maybe bring your favorite incense into the bathroom. Maybe play your favorite, witchy music, have your candles going, make it a beautiful kind of environment, a relaxed environment for yourself so that you can feel that renewal. Okay. So once we've done that, and we've gotten out of the bath, I want you to go to your favorite magical place. So that might be, again, maybe it is somewhere outside. Maybe it is in your living room. Maybe it's by your altar, whatever it is. It's totally up to you. But you want to go to that magical place and you want to bring with you the bay leaves. So for this aspect of it, now that we've kind of given ourselves renewal, we've given ourselves the opportunity to relax a little bit, maybe to cleanse away part of the day, to prepare for ritual. We've bathed ourselves. We are ritually prepared. The next thing that we're going to do is I would like you to get some bay leaves, or if you don't have those, you can use a piece of paper. You want to have a fireproof container. So something, some kind of a cauldron. If you don't have that, a pot is always really nice. It would be great if you had a candle. Specifically for this, we want to use black candles because what we're going to be using the bay leaves for is just releasing some things. So the act of burning the bay leaf, which is what we're going to do, is going to be an action that we're taking. Again, we're moving more into a confidence place. So now we have the knowledge. We're going to put that knowledge into practice. So with this ritual, on each bay leaf that you burn, I just want you to write down something that you're ready to let go of. And that I want to kind of come up in the moment. I don't want there to be too much pre-planning for that. Give yourself the chance to let it just kind of bubble up to the surface. Maybe it's something that you've never even thought about before. Maybe it is, maybe you'll be sitting there and out of nowhere you'll have the feeling like, I am a people pleaser, I need to stop doing that. And it's something maybe you've never thought about before. Or I'm a self-sabotager, I need to stop doing that. Or I need to cut this person out of my life because they're not really good for me, or whatever it is. It's totally up to you. But let it all come up intuitively. Let it all come up naturally. You don't have to kind of create a list and pre-prepare for it. So let it just be a thing. Let it happen naturally. And so on each bay leaf, after our ritual bath, on each bay leaf, you can write down one word that kind of sums it up. Something that feels as if it defines the thing that you're releasing. And you're going to burn your bay leaf, and you're going to put it in your fireproof container, and let it release. Let the action itself, let the action of burning our bay leaves, which are protective, they're good, they're good fortune, good luck. They really represent abundance. They represent the heart space. They're such powerful tools for those types of magics, and they're so perfect for release. They're perfect, and they bring us to do the heart space, so we can kind of focus on the things that maybe we haven't necessarily given ourselves the opportunity to. So maybe it is in the moment you recognize that you need to focus more on building confidence, or maybe you need to focus more on giving back to yourself because you're constantly giving to everyone else. So that's kind of why I didn't want there to be too much in terms of like pre-preparing, because often our unconscious mind will kind of hit us in those moments and go like, okay, we're doing this. What is it? And so you'll hear, things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have thought about come to the forefront of your mind. And you're like, okay, well, that's what I need to focus on. So as I said, I would stick with, 5 or more. I think 5 probably be the limit or the minimum of things, and give yourself as much time as you want. If you need to, you can burn the same word over and over and over again, but just give yourself, again, 5 or 10 minutes of kind of create a magical space for yourself. Light some candles, light your incense, have your favorite music going. Like bonus points if you can have a window going, you can see the moon, or you can connect with nature in that way, or even maybe practice this ritual outside if that's possible for you. But giving yourself this moment to go from recognition and renewal and an acknowledgement of kind of giving back to ourselves, and then also the release and the permission to let go is a really beautiful thing that you can do for yourself. And then in that moment, if you want, you can journal. If you want, this is the opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, if you didn't have the chance to set intentions earlier on, this can be an opportunity for you to set intentions. Maybe it's in the bath when you're taking your ritual bath and thinking about how you want to spend the spring and summer, what you want more of, what you need more of to feel joy and to feel happy. So that can be a really nice opportunity for those intention settings if you didn't have the time to do it earlier. But then following it up again with the release, with just giving ourselves permission to let go of certain things is a really powerful thing, because the physical act of doing it is often very therapeutic for us. It gives us permission to let the thoughts go. It gives us permission to start to make changes. Maybe it's someone who's not good for you that's in your life. Maybe the action of taking this belief and burning it with that intention of release will give you, even unconsciously, permission to start phasing that person out of your life or moving in a new direction, whatever it is. But these two rituals, I think, go hand in hand. And I like that they go hand in hand, because we're not only are we giving back to ourselves, but we're also giving ourselves permission to release anything that we haven't done over the past couple of months. Anything that's sort of been weighing on us before we move into this season of really intense growth. So these two kind of mini rituals, they kind of work together to make a larger ritual, because we're bringing things into ourselves and we're letting things go. And it's very much, I think this ritual is a great representation of that kind of cyclical movement that we were talking about earlier, this sense of bringing it into us and releasing it at the same time. And they go hand in hand. And we've been talking about earlier, the equinox is all about balance. It's about creating more of that balance. And what better way to do that than to give ourselves renewal, but to also reflect and concentrate on release and letting go so that we can have more balance. So yes, these two mini rituals, as I'm thinking of them, are perfect to be done together. I think it's a great way to celebrate the spring equinox. Again, if you don't have a bath, this is also showers are magical places. The best ideas happen in showers. So I always think of showers and baths as these like great liminal places. And I'm also, again, I'm a Scorpio rising. So I have a watery heart, an emotional heart. So I think of those places as being kind of very, very magical. And this ritual is pretty simple. Again, make it however you want it. If you want to add multiple salts, you can do that. If you want to do the burning of the bay leaves first and then take your ritual bath, you can do that too. By all means, if you want to burn them at the same time, if you are that coordinated, absolutely do that too. Customize this ritual. This is basically just a really, really pared down, very simplified thing that you can do that I think everyone can relate to. And I kind of wanted to keep it as simple as possible, but customize it, make it yours. Tell us how you've made it yours, please. I love your photos and I love seeing and hearing about your rituals and how you make them your own. And I think we learn from one another and we all have different ways of practicing magic. And I think I've learned so much from so many of you. And I love the idea of kind of sharing those ideas together. So if you decide to do this spring ritual, if you do it, please share it. If you do your own very different one, we would all we would all love to hear about it. So let us know how you celebrate the spring equinox, what it means to you, how you intend to invoke spring. Show me your altars. You guys know I love going through your drawers. Let me see your altars. Share them with me. And I hope that this spring it will be an incredibly powerful one for you. I know we've all had a heavy, heavy winter. We've gone through a lot of transitions, a lot of deaths, a lot of it's been very, very heavy. And I feel like this spring has like a sweetness to it. It feels nurturing and powerful. And so I'm about that and I'm ready to invoke it and be connected to work with spring as we've kind of talked a lot about. That's it. That's all I have for everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 2 hours on Sunday night. I hope that you don't have too bad of the Sunday scaries. I hope that tomorrow and the rest of this week is really beautiful for you. Please share ideas. However, whatever kind of things you do, maybe you decorate eggs. Oh, I love seeing them. So share them with us. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, we've got lots of stuff going on this month. Carl is about to get here. We're going to be shooting some more stuff. There's some special stuff happening I'm very excited about. And I'm really excited about spring. This is the first spring in a long time that I've been like, hurry up and get here already. So yes, share all the goods with me. I want to see all your altars and all your spring equinox rituals. We all can kind of learn from each other. So have a beautiful rest of your night. Go do whatever it is you're going to do. I apologize if I've taken you away from the Oscars, but thanks. It makes me feel like kind of important. But have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all very, very soon. Good night, everybody.